At the end of the previous lesson, we wrote text adventure game. So let's review the code. First, I'm greeting my user, welcome to the text adventure game. And I also created two variables, score to save the score of our user and variable to store user input. Then I'm asking my user to choose one of the next options. To explore the cave, he or she should enter 1. Option 2 is cross the bridge. Option 3, enter the forest. And option 4, open the mystery box. And then I'm asking my user to enter his or her choice. And depending on the choice of my user, different pieces of the code will be executed. So if my user input is equal to 1, user choose to explore the cave, I'm going to write the message, you enter the dark cave, unknown creature attacks you. And I'm also going to decrease the score of my user. If the input is equal to 2, I'm going to type message, you cross a creaky bridge, it feels unstable but holds up. If input is 3, the output will be you are in the forest, magical creature surrounds you, and I'm going to increase the score of my user. And if input is equal to 4, I'm going to type message, you found treasury, go to shop to estimate the price. And I'm going to increase the score of my user on some random number. To generate random number, I'm using function rand from the library stdlib.ash. So if you want to generate random numbers, include this library and use this function rand. And if my user press different button, actually in our previous code we typed invalid choice, but let's just use other buttons to escape our game. So I'm going to change my message here on game is finished. Okay, and in the end, I'm going to type the score to my user. You can see that here we make our decision based on the value of the variable user input, and we have fixed set of options that user input can have, the fixed amount of values 1, 2, 3 or 4. And in this case, when your choice is based on the fixed amount of values of some variable, it's perfect to use not if-else-if statement, but switch statement. So how can I use switch statement? First, I'm going to write the keyword switch, and in the round brackets, I'm going to specify variable that I'm going to test. And depending on the value of this variable, we are going to run different pieces of the code. So this variable here is user input, and then we should open curly brackets, and inside of our curly brackets we are going to check the value of our variable, and for different cases we are going to run different code. So to specify these cases, type the keyword case, and after the case type the value of the user input you want to check. So if I want to check if my user input is equal to 1, I'm going to type case 1, and after the value I'm going to type colon, and then I'm going to type the piece of the code that will be executed if my user input is equal to 1. So I'm going to copy this piece of the code from here. I'm going to type you enter the dark cave and change the score of our user. And it's very important that after the code you are going to execute, you should write the keyword break we discussed in the previous lesson, and later we are going to discuss why it's so crucial to write break in each case you test. So then I'm going to check if my user input is equal to 2. So I'm going to type case 2 colon, and then I'm going to write the code that will be executed if user input is equal to 2. And once again, don't forget after each case you need to write the word break. Then I'm going to test case user input equal to 3, and I'm going to execute this code. And once again, don't forget the keyword break. And then one more case we are going to check is case user input is equal to 4. And in this case, we are going to run this code. You open the mystery box and your score is changed by some random number, and once again break. And you can see that here we type the code that will be executed for cases user input is equal 1, 2, 3, 4. But here we also have one more case when our user gives some input different from our specified cases. And it's always very important to predict in your code that you can always have some invalid input, and you should also describe the case, what will happen if your input, if the value of the user input variable is different from the one you listed. In this way, your code will be much safer. So to specify what will happen if the value of user input is different from all cases you listed, use the keyword default, and after the colon, write the code that will be executed in this default case. So for me, it will be a message game is finished. And once again, don't forget the word break. Okay, now we can remove this if-else statement and check our switch statement, and you can see that now our code looks much more tidy. So once again, in switch statement we specify the variable we are going to test for different cases, and for each case we describe the code that will be executed, and also we have default case. It's very crucial always to have this default case to make your code safe. What will happen if our user input is different from the cases we listed? Now let's build and run our program and check that it works the same. So you can see that once again we have message, welcome to our text adventure game, choose an option, and let's choose option 3, enter the forest, and you can see the message, you enter the forest and your final score is 2. Let's once again run our program and test case 4, open mystery box, and you can see that I open mystery box and have a score 40 rams that is generated by our random function. And if I give my program some invalid input, let's type R, game is finished and your final score is 0. So once again, let's review our switch statement and talk more about this break word, why it's so crucial to have the break word after each case. So the thing is that when you enter the switch statement, it actually checks each case one by one, and when we find the case that is true, we enter this case and we start to execute this code line by line. And if there will be no word break, we will keep executing code from the rest of the cases. To demonstrate you what I mean, let's for example remove the break word from the case 1 and let's try to enter case 1, enter the dark cave. And you can see that when I choose option choice 1, I have code executed from the case 1, you enter the dark cave, unknown creature attacks you, and then I also have the code executed from the case 2, you cross the creaky bridge, it feels unstable but holds up your finals, and then I meet the word break and you see the final score. If I try to remove break from all my cases, let's check what will happen in this situation. Let's build and run our program, and let's for example choose option 2, case 2. And you can see that when I choose option 2, I start executing all the code in the switch statement starting from the case 2. So I enter the case 2 and I type this message, you cross the creaky bridge, and then because I don't have this break statement, I keep executing all the rest of the code in all other cases. So it's something very crucial to remember. If you don't use the break statement in switch, you are going to execute all the code you typed starting from the case that is true. So if user input is equal to 1, I'm going to execute all this code. If user input is equal to 3, I'm going to execute all code starting from the case 3. So this is the exact reason why you need to use the break statement if you don't want to execute code for all cases. So once again, let's discuss when it's better to use if-else statement and when it's better to use switch statement. So switch statement is ideal for such simple situation when we have variable with some fixed set of possible values. For example, it can be integer that takes some particular values like 1, 2, 3, 4. It can be char that takes some particular values like WACD, or it can be some enum value. And actually, when you need to run different code for different values of enum variable, switch is perfect choice here. In lesson about enum, we wrote enum months where we listed all months of the year. And let's say I want to type the name of the month to the console as is, because you remember that if I try to create some months variable months, let's say it's equal to April, and if I try to type months to the console, I'm going to see not the name of this enum variable, but actually the integer variable that stands for this particular value. You can see that for April I have output 4, but if I want to type months as a string, it's very nice idea to use here switch statement. So in switch statement I'm going to test my variable months, and inside of curly brackets I'm going to write all possible cases, all possible values of my months variable. So in case of January, I'm going to type January to my console. And don't forget the keyword break. In case of February, I'm going to type February to the console. And once again, don't forget the keyword break. Okay, I finished our switch expression. So in case of each month, I will just type the corresponding string and break this case. And I also added default case. If we have some invalid input, I'm going to type invalid months. So once again, let's test our program. Let's build and run it. And you can see that now for months April, I see output April. If I change it, for example, to July, in old code I would see 7, but now with this switch statement I see output July. Okay guys, this is it. This is all I wanted to tell you about the switch expression. Now you know how to use it. Don't forget to include the default case to make your code safe, and don't forget to include the keyword break after each case, of course if you don't want to execute several cases in your switch expression. And I'll see you in the next lesson.